Welcome to this video about BI Metrics. In this video we would like to explain what BI Metrics is. BI Metrics is a tool designed to save energy and improve comfort through optimal performing installations. What do we see around us in the world today is that many buildings perform very poorly. And we mean by that, perform poorly on comfort and on energy. This could be as high as 70% of all buildings in the world. The reason that this happens is because of the degradation in the operational phase, which means that things happen in the operational phase that deteriorates the performance of the building. That means that maybe things break and no one knows or sees that they break, or people change settings inside of the building and they go unnoticed as well. So for that reason it's very important to have a good look at that and make energy savings. Now if we look at performance, this is a graph where we put building performance against time, and we see in this case building performance as the comfort level and the energy consumption. We see that there is a sort of an optimum level drawn here on the top of the graph and a minimum level. We will get to that minimum level in a second. Well, what we see is when the building is being started to use, then we see a degradation. And it goes all the way down to the minimum level. Actually, if we do nothing, it will go beyond the minimum level. But we would like to see the minimum level as a sort of a pain threshold for the customers. So that means that in this case, the end user says, this is enough. I want you as a service organization to handle this and change anything that is needed in the installation. So let's call the minimum the pain threshold. What happens then is if that minimum is being reached, then someone from the service organization will drive up to the installation and make changes. And these changes are mostly done because of the fact there are comfort complaints. That's mostly the case in these kinds of buildings. So what happens is he changes them and he sees also over time that they will degrade again. So again and again and again we do changes and they degrade again. This is sort of a bouncing around on this pain threshold that we actually see, which is not a good thing, because the difference between the optimum level and this sort of minimum level is about 25% energy waste, which is a lot of money, represents a lot of money. And it also makes sure what happens is that the comfort levels in the buildings are very poor as well. What we also see is that services are tended cost driven rather than value driven, meaning that it's sort of a race to the bottom. The one that puts forward the lowest price for a contract gets the contract. However, we would like to do that value driven, being measured for what you do as a service organization in that building. The other thing is that it's very difficult to have an objective value for that building. How are you going to measure how the building is being run, how the installation runs? We also see that service organizations, for them, it's often very difficult to sell the added value of their organization and to prove that they're actually doing a good job. And end users find it very difficult on the receiving end of service contract that what they are seeing in their building mounts up to a very effective way of working and that the service organization is doing a good job for them. So we believe that BI Metrics is a perfect tool to sort of build bridges between these seemingly opposing needs. Now what is BI Metrics? BI Metrics is a form of installation performance and it is vendor independent. It's not vendor independent today, but it will be in the future. That means that any form of system that you have inside your building can be, the data from that can be ingested into our system and you can use BI Metrics for that system. It's a tool for the service organization, and that means that the service organization has a contract with an end user, and within the contract he uses this tool to show for himself and his customer that he is doing a good job. What it does is it shows the extent to which the system functions as intended. So there is a sort of a benchmark. We know where we want to go. Remember the first graph, there is a sort of optimum level we would like to reach. So how does the building performs against that level? What it does, it visualizes important KPIs for the building manager as well, so they can see what's happening too. And we offer that as a cloud service. We have two ways of looking into that installation, you could say two front ends. One is, let's say, the technical view for the service organization, and the other one is a KPI dashboard for the building manager. The goal of BI Metrics is to save energy while improving comfort, so basically using the energy that goes into the building more efficiently. It's also being used to provide insight for the service organization, And you can use it to benchmark a building at the start situation. For instance, if you have a building that is being commissioned, you can use this as well as a tool during commissioning phase. You want to get the installation to work optimally and keep it that way over time. I think that's also important, because if we do nothing, if the building is left unattended again, then the degradation sets in. It also aims service efforts for investments or looking into the installation and the system. And it improves communication between service organizations and end users. This is a picture that shows the service architecture. On the left hand side we here see the buildings that push their data into the cloud, which here is in the middle. And in the cloud all the things happen that make sure that we analyze the data and provide a web front end for users. And the web front end can be used by building managers and service organizations on their PCs, on their laptops, but also on their smartphones and tablets. Inside the building, the installation, in this case the building automation system, is being connected to the cloud through a secure device called the SX100. So what we see here is an example of a profile. This is actually what happens inside of the system. Now normally we see that measurements are being done against time. That means that we take a value, let's say in this case the vertical value boiler supply temperature, and we set that against time so we can see how it behaves. BI Metrics does that in a very different way. In this case we measure the boiler supply temperature at a specific outside air temperature, and you get a scatter plot like this. Now if we know what kind of behavior we can expect from, in this case, the boiler supply temperature, we can plot that over these graphs and see how it operates and forms and functions. This means that everything in the green area is good and everything outside it is bad. So when you look at those points, you can make a number, you can give it a grade, anything between 0 and 10. In this case this is a KPI dashboard. Again, it's just an example with some dashboards, with some KPIs from installation parts. Now remember, we talked about giving focus. What we see here is there is a KPI with a 9.6, which is really good, so don't touch it. And there's one with 0.6, which is really bad. And this means that in this case, if I'm a service company, I would aim my efforts on that KPI and look at that installation part, trying to improve it. Because I know it will improve energy, less energy consumption, and it will improve comfort for the customer. This picture represents the profiles and the KPIs and how they are arranged. In this case we see on the left hand side the measurements. These will be put in a profile which results in a KPI. What we can do is put several KPIs in a KPI set. Now how that works inside of the tool we will explain later on in other videos, but suffices to say that this is how it's set up. This is a screenshot from an older version of BI Metrics. In this case this was an actual building that we started running the system in June 2014. And what we see here is these are the exact numbers that we measured at that time. 1 year later, after the improvements that have been made by the service organization, the measurements look like that. Now, of course, it's very obvious if you are a service organization and you have this kind of work going on in buildings that you do for your customer, then this is really powerful, because you can show to your customer that you have been doing a good job. And on the receiving end, the customer can see that you have been doing a good job because the numbers went up, and you can prove that the numbers went up. I think this is a very important point for BI Metrics. And again, a high score here means less energy waste. So this is a building of 60,000 square meters. It started in June 2014, still ongoing actually. The savings in the first year were around 125,000 euros on the energy bill, and actually the second year they added another 55,000 euros to that, so it was even higher in the second year. And that means that in this case the system pays for itself. That means that all the work that's being done to improve comfort and make sure you lower the energy waste will pay for itself and have room to spare. So this is a good job. Now of course we have other tools as well within our product portfolio, for instance TC Energy. In this slide I would like to show you what the difference is, or should I say the way that they work together is very good. So it's not so much the difference, but we believe that they're better together. What TC Energy does is it shows where energy goes inside the building, so where the energy is leaving where the energy is going inside of the building and the amount of energy that goes into the building. BI Metrics actually shows how efficient that energy is being used. And that makes a very good case, because using BI Metrics you can save energy, and with TC Energy you can prove that you actually did. So in summary, what is BI Metrics? It's a tool for the service organization. The goal is to save energy while maintaining comfort levels or improving comfort levels by ensuring an optimal working installation, and of course improving also collaboration between service organizations and an end user. We do that by showing the extent to which the system meets the design standards, using simple KPIs, and we do that vendor independently. And it's a cloud service. Priva offers this as a cloud service. So this was the video about what is BI Metrics. Thank you for watching.